Hi, it's Sherri from A Quilting Life, and today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about works in progress. I took a little bit of time the other day to work on one of my ongoing works in progress, and I thought that really was fun and refreshing to pull it out after having worked on it in a long time. And I thought that it might be fun for you to hear some of the methods I use and some of the ways I keep in track of all of my different works in progress projects. So let's get started, and I'll show you some of my tips and tricks and give you some of my thoughts on not only keeping track of your works in progress, but being able to stay actively working on them, even when you're working on other things. So the other day, as I mentioned earlier, I started working on my Village House Blocks quilt. And this is a quilt that I've had going on for really a couple of years, actually maybe even longer. I started it deciding a long time ago that I was going to use all of our different fabric collections. And so the other day I thought, oh, I haven't made any with our new Balboa collection. And so I hurried up and made some houses. And I am officially halfway through this quilt. I have lots of blocks from going all the way back to our earliest fabric collections. And it's just really fun. It's going to be really scrappy. They're just these cute house blocks. This pattern is actually now available for free, and I will put a link in the description for you. When I got it, it wasn't free, but now it's free. It was something that Moda Fabrics and Carrie of Miss Rosie's Quilt Company decided to do for everyone because of everyone being stuck at home. They decided to offer this to everyone for free. And so that was such a nice gesture for them, and makes it possible for all of you to make this really fun quilt. And it does. It's just a really scrappy, fun house quilt. As I mentioned, I have been working on this for a long time. And one thing that I do to keep tracks of my works in progress, and I think this is really important, is that you find a container or a space that you can keep those projects in when you're not working on it. I've had it in, I have a Alpha drawer unit system that I keep works in progress. I think you can see it, works in progress. And so I have several of these drawers where I keep projects, and then I can just pull it out and bring it into my sewing room. I keep this in my closet, and I can pull out those projects, and I keep everything in there. I keep the blocks in there. I keep the pattern in there. If there's a specialty ruler, I'll often keep it in there. And I am using I have a flying geese ruler that makes the exact size flying geese that you need for the houses on these blocks. And so I've been keeping that together. And I also, like the other day, I made a few extra roof sections. The roofs for me on this quilt are kind of the hardest part to get made because the bottom of the house unit is so simple. So I made a few extra roofs, and I'm sticking them in the bin as well, so that the next time I sit down to make houses, I'll have several roofs already made. So I try to do things like that with works in progress to make it easier when I go to work on them again, that I have maybe one of the difficult parts already finished up. Something else I do with a lot of works in progress is, and I call it my cheat sheet. And so in the back of this pattern, I have put some basic measurements. So it says houses, the sides, and it gives the measurements for the sides on either side of the front door, and for the little rectangle above the front door. I've got my door measurement. I've got the measurements for the roof. And I use these little cheat sheets so that I don't have to open the pattern and go in every time I start to work on something that I haven't worked on for a while. I can just look at my little cheat sheet and start cutting pieces. So that's one way that I really recommend that helps getting back into a project that maybe has been sitting in a drawer for a little while. This is another bin that I use to keep projects in a lot, and I really love it. I also have label clips that you can get from Container Store that clip right onto these bins, so I can label what's in those, and I'll actually link to those in the description as well. There's another kind of project bin I use a lot, and you've probably seen you know, the big square plastic bins, but these are great as well. You want to label what's inside. This is a farmer's wife project that I really haven't worked on in a long time, but someday I'll get back to this one. But I just want to show you, I have the book in here and templates that I've had to cut out. I even have some of the specialty rulers that I needed, and I just keep it all together. And here's my blocks. This is really making me want to go back and work on this quilt. I'm going to have to get back to this one. But I keep everything together so that when I do get a little bit of extra time, or say you're going to a quilt retreat or a class where you're going to have extra time, you can just take the bin with you and everything is all included. Along with storage of your works in progress, there are actually some other things that you can do to stay on top of them. And one of them is keeping a list of your works in progress. I actually have a file folder that I keep these in. And it's kind of fun because I have some of my old works in progress lists in here. In fact, I don't have this year's in here. It's actually in my office on my desk. But I found that my 2016 list, and I will link this in the description below too. This is something from American Patchwork and Quilting, All People Quilt. And they give you a new one every single year where you can list your top 12 works in progress. And so I'm just kind of looking at this 2016 list. I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I finished 6 of the 12 projects. That's pretty good. You know, and then of course by 2017 I had added some different things. I finished a couple of those. And my 2018 list, lots of those are finished. Oh, I see another one that I need to start working on. But just having these lists is really good. And they give you a place to list the project, to list the status before, and to list the status at the end of the year. So you can see this year I was really good about finaling up at the end of the year. 2018, not so good. But I do have my 2019 and my 2020 lists. And it's just a great way to keep track of works in progress. There's also other printouts that you can find. This one's by Maker Valley. And she has a list of quilts that you want to make that you can print out. And then she has a works in progress to finish. And I think she updates these every year too. I will check and see if she's updated those for 2020, and if she has, I will link those in the description below too. Something else I wanted to show you that I do for works in progress is that if I have a longer work in progress quilt or one that's more complicated, I will give it its own file. So this is the file from the Sunday Best Sampler quilt that Corey Yoder and I did with our book, Sunday Best Quilts. And if you're not familiar with that, that's a book that we did together. It came out about a year ago, and we did a really fun sampler quilt with one block from each of the 12 quilts in the book. 6 of the quilts were designed by Corey, and 6 of the quilts were designed by me. And so you needed to have the book to make the sampler quilt, but then we gave you free PDF downloads on our blog each week, and we did a sew-along last fall. So that you could make the sampler quilt. And so I kept all of my paperwork for that together while I was working on those blocks so that I could have them easily to refer to. And I even do this today. I have a Moda Blockheads folder. I keep all those patterns in, and my own block of the month. I have a folder that I keep those patterns in. So if you're working on a long-term work in progress, it's really nice to just utilize file folders to keep those organized. Okay, I went and grabbed a couple of other things I wanted to show you. Just got my mind turning about different ways that ways and things that I use to keep works in progress organized. But I mentioned a couple minutes ago about the bin labels. And I really like these. These are from Container Store, and they just kind of come off. They just have a clip on the back, so you can use them on most baskets, and they're fit sized perfectly for a business card, but you can cut your own. I keep zippers in this one, but you could easily do this with works in progress as well. And you really don't ever have to take the label holder off. You can just pull the label out, but that's another way to keep your works in progress labeled. I don't really like to keep things in enclosed plastic boxes as much anymore, as I just feel like the plastic might do something to the fabric. So I have been trying to switch to bins, but you can use anything. This is just a basket. I don't even know where I got this one, but it was just a great basket, and I keep Christmas fabrics in there, and I have some blocks in there that I've started, you know, for another red and green quilt. So really just anything that you can use to keep things together is really going to help you stay organized. Another thing that I thought I would mention is that it's really good to review things regularly. That's why those pages that I showed you are so nice to have, because even if you just look at it once a month or even once a quarter, it can keep those projects fresh in your mind, so you can think about what you have to work on, and what you might want to pull out. I think all quilters get in quilting slumps where maybe we get tired of whatever we're working on, and sometimes all we need is a change of pace or a change of scenery or a new project. And sometimes that new project is actually right there in your quilting room. I hope you've enjoyed this little discussion today about works in progress. I really feel like as quilters, we all have works in progress. We all have more quilts that we want to make than we can make in a lifetime. But if we can kind of keep a handle on the things that we've started, we can do a good job of finishing them up. Even if it's something that maybe we finish up and donate or give away if we don't love the fabric anymore or don't love the pattern anymore. It's a good way to use those things that we already have. And so I hope you've enjoyed this little discussion. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, and thanks so much for stopping by.